It was a warm summer evening when HOA Karen, the enthusiastic event planner, decided to host a massive camping trip on my land. Hearing her plans for inviting 500 people had me concerned. I spent years cultivating this piece of land, making it a tranquil retreat, far removed from the chaos of city life. Unsure how I felt about the influx of people, I decided to confront HOA, but she was already deep into her plans, promising fun activities, bonfires, and community bonding. Her excitement was infectious, and despite my reservations, I couldn't outright oppose her. As the event approached, I knew I needed a strategy. My land was often a haven for wildlife, including my two beloved bulls, Charlie and Max, who enjoyed roaming freely. That's when it hit me. I had the perfect plan. The night before the big gathering, I decided to play my trump card. I opened the gates to the pasture, and Charlie and Max thundered into the open fields. With their large frames and imposing presence, they could definitely set the wrong tone for the peaceful gathering HOA envisioned. The next day, the sun rose bright and cheery, and cars began arriving one by one. My heart raced as the first guests set foot on my land and began to unpack their gear. Laughter filled the air, but so did a sudden ruckus, the sound of hooves pounding against the ground. Charlie and Max ambled into view, their majestic bodies glistening in the sunlight. The sight of the two bulls at the edge of the camping area sent a wave of apprehension across the crowd. Some campers gasped, while others laughed nervously. The mood quickly shifted from celebration to concern. Are those bulls?" someone yelled. "Yeah, they're friendly. I promise," I called out, even though I noticed Charlie looking curiously at the newcomers. As confusion spread, a few brave souls decided to approach the bulls. Slowly, the tension eased. Charlie, with his calm demeanor, allowed a couple of adventurous kids to pet him. Max, on the other hand, preferred to graze and create an amusing spectacle of ignoring everyone. To my surprise, the campers began to embrace the unexpected situation. They took tons of photos with the bulls, boasting stories of how they pet a bull while camping. It became a playful diversion from their original plans, and the atmosphere lightened. Before long, the campfire was lit, and stories were shared about the day's unfolding events. Laughter echoed through the woods, filling the void I had worried would be created by so many strangers on my land. In that moment, my plan had unintentionally transformed into a positive bonding experience. By the end of the night, people were dancing, sharing food, and even making up funny songs about the bull camp. I realized that what had seemed like a potential disaster had turned into a memorable adventure for everyone involved. In the days that followed, I found myself laughing with HOA about the chaos. The bulls had become the stars of the show. And while I had initially panicked at the idea of so many people, I learned to appreciate the camaraderie that ensued. As the grand event wrapped up, many campers promised to return not just to camp, but to visit Charlie and Max again. Their presence had been an unexpected blessing, reminding me that sometimes it takes a little chaos to spark joy and create unforgettable memories. It all started when I bought a 40-acre ranch just outside the city. Quiet, private, and far from the madness of HOA rules, or so I thought. Turns out the local HOA president, Karen, believed everything within 2 miles was under her control. One weekend, I noticed dozens of tents going up on my property. Confused, I drove over. And there she was, Karen, clipboard in hand, barking orders at people. "We're having our annual HOA summer camp here," she said proudly. I told her she was on private property. She laughed. "Oh, don't be dramatic. It's just grass. You've got plenty." That's when I called the sheriff. But since it was the weekend, no one came immediately. By nightfall, there were over 500 people. Bonfires, loud music, kids running everywhere. My fences were broken, and someone even parked an RV near my barn. So, I decided to remind them whose land it really was. At sunrise, I opened the gates to my pasture, and out came my 3 massive bulls, fully fed and territorial. The crowd screamed and scattered within minutes. Tents ripped, coolers flipped, and Karen tripped right into a puddle of mud while trying to escape. By the time the sheriff finally showed up, the place looked like a battlefield. Karen tried to claim I endangered the community, but my security cameras told the real story. trespassing, property damage, and theft. The HOA was fined, and Karen had to personally pay for all the damages. As for me, I installed bigger fences and a sign at the gate. I've always loved peace and quiet. That's why I bought a 40-acre ranch out in the countryside, away from all the noise, traffic, and especially from nosy HOA neighbors. I just wanted to live free, raise my animals, and mind my own business. But then came Karen. Karen was the president of the local HOA from the neighborhood next to mine. Even though my land wasn't part of her HOA, she acted like she was queen of the whole county. She'd drive by in her little golf cart, take pictures, and complain that my fence was too rustic or that my cows looked aggressive. I ignored her, until the day everything went too far. One Friday afternoon, I was coming home from town when I noticed something strange. There were cars lined up all along my dirt road and dozens of tents popping up on my property. Kids were running around, campfires were being built, and loud music blasted from portable speakers. I drove up and shouted, "What the hell is going on here?" Karen turned around, wearing her big sun hat and fake smile. "Oh, you must be the landowner." "Don't worry, sweetie, we're just using the open field for our HOA summer family camp. You'll hardly notice us." I said, "This is private land. You can't just set up here." She waved her hand like I was being ridiculous. "Oh, come on. You've got so much space." We just needed somewhere nice for the weekend. I told her to pack up and leave immediately. She rolled her eyes and walked off, saying, "Good luck stopping us." By sunset, there were over 500 people on my property. Cars, campers, tents, everywhere. They built bonfires, dumped trash, and some genius even used my barn as a restroom. I called the sheriff, but since it wasn't an emergency, they said they'd come in the morning. That's when I decided, if they want to treat my ranch like a campground, they can deal with the ranch residents. At sunrise, I opened the gate to my pasture. Out came my 3 bulls, Rocky, Diesel, and Bruno, big, loud, and mean. They stormed into the field like they owned the place, snorting, pawing the ground. Screams erupted. People ran in every direction. Kids were crying, tents collapsed, coolers spilled. One guy dropped his grill and bolted for his truck. Karen was trying to calm everyone down, until Bruno started chasing her around the fire pit. She fell face first into the mud and everyone ran for their cars. In 10 minutes, my land was empty. When the sheriff finally arrived, the place looked like a war zone. Torn tents, broken coolers, trash everywhere. Karen was furious. She screamed, "He set wild animals on us!" The sheriff looked at me and said, "Are those your bulls?" "Yes, sir. They live here. Always have." Karen tried to press charges, but my security footage showed everything. Them trespassing, destroying property, and ignoring my warnings. The HOA got fined $25,000 for property damage and illegal trespassing. Karen personally had to pay for my broken fences and cleanup costs. A few weeks later, I got a handwritten note from her. "Apologies for the misunderstanding. It won't happen again." I framed it and hung it in my barn. Now, I've got a new sign on my gate that says, "Private property. Trespassers will be introduced to the bulls." My family has owned the sprawling 500 acres of Willow Creek Ranch for 4 generations. It's quiet, private, and unequivocally private property, marked clearly by signs every 50 feet. I, Elias Thorne, am a man who cherishes that solitude. That's why the text message I received from my neighbor, a woman I'll call Karen, though her real name is Heather, sent a cold jolt through me. Heather, who lives 2 miles away, runs a small, slightly obnoxious social media consultancy and had apparently just posted a nature retreat extravaganza invitation online. The message read, "Elias, I'm hosting a community back to nature weekend. I've rented out the stunning Willow Creek Meadows for a beautiful 500-person campout. Hope you don't mind the noise." I stared at the screen, my jaw slack. "Rented out? My land? Without a word to me?" I immediately called her. "Heather, what in the blazes are you talking about?" "That is my land." "You absolutely did not rent it out because it's not yours to rent." "Oh, lighten up, Elias," she chirped, completely dismissive. "I told everyone it was unlisted private land, and that's why it's so exclusive. It's going to be a phenomenal networking opportunity. Besides, you never use that lower meadow." "It's just sitting there." Heather, the lower meadow is where I graze my herd. You need to cancel this right now. Too late. I have 500 RSVPs, a food truck, and a spiritual gong artist booked. I am not canceling my event for your silly cows. She hung up before I could respond. My blood was boiling. I had tried the reasonable route. Now I needed to show 500 strangers and one utterly entitled neighbor what happens when you disrespect Willow Creek Ranch. Chapter 2. The arrival. The next morning, the horror show began. A steady stream of cars, SUVs, and even a couple of luxury motorhomes clogged the private access road. By noon, the lower meadow, my prime grazing land, was dotted with bright nylon tents,